It's December, it's cold outside, so you know what that means. We are in the thick of it. College basketball season is loaded, it's dialed. We have enough information now to be able to make picks, and today we have a loaded slate of basketball games, as we've got like the Big Ten conference games, we've got the SEC versus ACC. So many great matchups on today, and I'm going to give you guys 3 best bets in today's games. Let's get into it. This is the Free 3. What's up, guys? Your boy Noble Living back with another DYF Bets video. I'm breaking down my favorite picks and plays of the day. We're trying to get to the bag together and get to that money, baby. Today, like I mentioned, we have a loaded college basketball slate. We do also have some NBA Cup action as well. But given how we've done in the NBA thus far this year, we're going to do a quick recap here in a second. I'm going to kind of keep my foot off of NBA until I have to. So when I have these college basketball slates where we do have ranked teams or when we have good players and games going on, I'm going to try to focus over there because that's really where my strong suit is. And then we'll dibble and dabble in NBA as we see fit because there's basically games going on every single day in NBA. So we're going to have times to kind of get back to it and choose our spots. And I also will have an NBA bonus pick for you guys at the end of the video. So make sure you guys stay to the end of that so that way you can get that player prop, all right? So to recap, yesterday real fast, 2-2 on the day, break-even day. NFL been on an absolute tear. If you add up every NFL play that we gave out from Thursday on Thanksgiving all the way through yesterday, we went 10-3. Absolutely beautiful run that we gone on in NFL. Browns in the over teaser, no sweat bet there. We get it done even though Jameis threw the pick sixes and my people had the Browns +6. I'm sorry for you. That's why we tease it. And then Jameson's pass yards, we got that done in the first half. My only regret is we didn't ladder that thing. And that's actually the biggest lesson that I've learned this year in sports betting. I've been betting like less picks on props and instead just laddering it up. Now as like the DFS stuff has taken over so much, it's kind of hard to find value on props where you can really put together 4, 5, 6 winners. Now shout out to all the people on Prize Picks, underdogs who are crushing it and killing it. But for me, what I've realized is easier for me to really just go like Jameis 250, 300, 325, 350. And when you have a game like yesterday, I mean, you literally one game can make it up for you for weeks in advance. So that's something that made me want to think about. Our only 2 losses yesterday came on Jalen Johnson's pointed. We needed 20. He finished with 19, so we lost on the hook there. And then our 3-team college basketball lay. The 2 mid-majors got it right. Colorado, the 1 Power 5 school, they decided they didn't want to play in the first half yesterday, so they sold for us. So 2-2 on the day, 7-3 start to the month of December. Not too shabby here, and I'm excited for today to run it back with some college basketball action. And then again, we've got an NBA winner at the end. So smash that subscribe button. I'm done yapping. Let's get into these winners for today. All right, for my first best bet of the day, let us go over to a late night Big Ten conference matchup. So this is one of the things that the Big Ten does, even though you still do have a lot of non-conference games going on in college basketball. The Big Ten likes to play like a few conference games real quickly, and then they go back to the non-conference schedule around like Christmas time or something. So for us today, we have a few Big Ten conference games. The first one that I'm going to be looking at is in the Wisconsin-Michigan game, and I'm going to take Wisconsin -3.5, -110 odds. Now, I really like Wisconsin this season. They have a great team. Greg Gard has had his boys playing really great basketball. They've got John Tonji there, who's got their best player, the senior guard. Meanwhile, you've got players like Xavier Amos, John Blackwell, Stephen Crowell. They have a great team, and that's the reason why they started off the season 8-0. They have not lost a game thus far this season, and now they start off conference play at home against a very strong Michigan team that's ranked 22nd on KenPom. But the thing about Michigan that concerns me is they haven't really played anybody this year, right? Like their schedule has been very weak. Let's look at it. Cleveland State to start off, then they played Wake Forest. They lost that game 72-70. And then after that, they strung 5 wins together against TCU, Miami of Ohio, Tarleton State, Virginia Tech, and Xavier. The only team there that's really a tournament team is Xavier, and they're probably a bubble team in all honesty. So to see them get those wins, and Xavier, that was on a neutral floor, I mean, that's impressive, but now they have to go on the road to Wisconsin, to Madison, Wisconsin, one of the toughest environments to play in all of college basketball, in your first conference game, in your first true road game against a Wisconsin team that's #1 right now in the entire country in free throw shooting. I like Wisconsin here. And that's why I'm willing to weigh the 3.5 points, because even though this might be a close game down the stretch, we get a few missed shots. We've got the number one team in all of college basketball to hit free throws, so they should be able to go to the line at home, knock down those free throws, and get us over this 3.5 number. If you want to take the money line, I'm not opposed to that, but Wisconsin's a team that right now is ranked 18th in offensive efficiency, 10th in turnover percentage, 65th in effective field goal percentage, and they're top 100 defensively as well. And both three-pointers and effective field goal percentage. I like this Wisconsin team, and they've picked up big wins against Arizona, against UCF, against Pittsburgh. So these are all games that are better opponents, in my opinion, than Michigan. And then also here that they're at home in their first Big Ten Conference game. I'm not going to overthink it. It's a tough road environment, Michigan. If this was a little bit later on in the season, okay, I might be willing to take Michigan in this spot, but let's see what Dusty May in his first year there. Let's see what he can do in conference play. I just think this is a tough environment for them. They've lost the first time they went away from home this season, and that was on a semi-road spot. And here's a true road spot. I like Wisconsin minus 3.5 here as our first best bet of the day. Our second pick of the day, we're going to go to let's see. Okay, Notre Dame in Georgia. This is a game, guys, that doesn't necessarily make a whole lot of sense to me as to why we're getting the line that we're getting. Georgia is 9.5-point favorites on certain books. Not mad at it. Georgia's great. They're 7-1 on the year. Mike White has these boys playing great basketball. Their only loss on the year came on a neutral floor to a very, very good Marquette team, which is ranked 11th on KenPom. And then they followed up that Marquette loss with a win against St. John, 66-63. So this Georgia team, they're legit. They might make some noise in the SEC. They're probably getting to get to the tournament. But 9.5-point favorites, even though they're at home against Notre Dame, that's a little bit too many points here. I'm taking Notre Dame plus 9.5, but I'm also going to go with the over 140.5 minus 110 odds. Two separate bets. I'm not parlaying it. I'm doing two separate bets. Plus 9.5 and then over 140.5. So let's talk about Notre Dame, right? They've lost 4 games in a row after starting off the season 4-0. That's why we're getting the value here at the 9.5. We're getting a little bit of an overreaction here because Notre Dame, their top guard, let me see, I think Marcus Burton, he got hurt in their matchup recently against Rutgers. That tournament that they had in Vegas at Rutgers, they lost that game in overtime. He got hurt. He only played about 3 minutes in that game. But right before that game, remember, if you were on the show last week, I took Rutgers in that situational spot because I said it was a big step up in class for Notre Dame. And they had just lost at home to a very bad Elon team. Well, after that Elon loss, they still have not recovered. Lost to Elon, lost to Rutgers in overtime by 1. They lost to Houston by 11, and then they lost to Creighton by 4. All 3 of those last 3 games were inside of that Vegas tournament. So why am I willing to take Notre Dame here plus 9.5? Because they covered against Creighton. They didn't cover against Houston, but Houston's one of the best teams in the country. They covered against Rutgers. Obviously, Elon was an upset loss, but this is a team that's been winning games, and this is a team that's been covering. And for me, 9.5 points, which is a great line, right? But for me, it's just way too many points for a Georgia Bulldogs team that, yes, they were able to compete with Marquette, but besides that, besides the St. John's win, that was a 3-point win. So for me, Notre Dame is a tournament team. They're dealing with some injuries right now. They're going to make a run inside their conference. They're going to pick up some quality wins. They're going to be inside the tournament. We saw that against their games against Rutgers. We saw that against Creighton. They've got a great team, and they can also score the ball. That's why I'm willing to take to the over here. Let's look at the numbers when we look at the over and unders here. Notre Dame is 6-2 to the over this season. Meanwhile, Georgia is 4-4, so split. But at home, Georgia is 4-2. So, home angle for Georgia. They've gone over. Notre Dame is primarily an over team. But when you look at Georgia's numbers a little bit more, even though they're 4-4 to the over and under, they started off the season with 3 straight overs. And then they had 4 straight unders against Georgia Tech, Alabama A&M, Marquette, and St. John's. But what's the thing there? All of those games had totals of 150 or higher. Their last game against Jacksonville State or Jacksonville went over. What was the total? 142.5. What's the total here? 140.5. just way too low of a number. Let's look at Notre Dame's streak recently on the over-unders, right? So Notre Dame, like I mentioned, they've lost 4 straight games, but they've gone over in 3 of the last 4 games. Against Elon, we had a total of 142.5. That went over. Against Rutgers, 146. That went over. Against Houston, whoever goes over against Houston, no, that game went under. Makes sense. And then Creighton, a total of 143.5. Final score 76-80. That game went over. They covered a 7.5 point line against Creighton. They covered a 16.5 point line against Houston. So they did cover against Houston. I didn't know. Against Rutgers, they were the favorites, so they lost that one, right? They covered its 3-point favorites against Georgetown earlier this year. That game went over 143.5. Against Buffalo, that went over 147.5. Against Stonehill, it went over 142.5. This is a Georgia team that put up 79 points on Marquette. This is a Georgia team that is at home. So over 140.5, Notre Dame can keep this game close, plus 9.5. Just way too many points here for a Notre Dame team that is in a letdown spot. Yes, I get it. And they might not win this game, but 4 losses in a row. We're getting literally double digits at home. KenPom has this as a 75-69 win for Georgia. That's 7 points. We're getting 2.5, 3 points here. That's value. I'm taking that as our second and third pick of the day. Bets down. Our third and final best bet to go. Well, I guess we did 3 bets because we had 2 bets in that last one. It's going to be our CBB moneyline parlay of the day. Now, we've been losing these recently, but we've been doing 3 teams. So we're going to switch up today. We're only going to go 2 teams, okay? And we're going to go Arkansas on the money line, Akron on the money line. That gets you to plus 105 odds. That's going to get you tucked in and done. So let's go with Arkansas first. Arkansas is taking on Miami on the road here. Arkansas is coming off a loss on a neutral floor to Illinois, 90-77. In his first year in Arkansas, John Calipari has his boys at 5-2 on the year with 2 losses just to Illinois, like I mentioned, and Baylor. Both of those losses were on a neutral floor. Now Arkansas travels to Miami for their first true road environment of the year. If they had beaten Illinois, I probably would have leaned more of Miami here. But because they lost to Illinois, I like this as a bounce back spot for them. And I think if this is the point in the season where Miami realizes our season is over and chalked. Why? Because Jim Larrañaga, as great of a coach as he is, as great as a motivator he is, we know when he gets his teams to the tournament, they can go on runs. We saw them go to a Final Four a few years ago. But also, his teams are prone to not make the tournament. And I know this because I've been following Jim Larrañaga a long time. I've been a big Syracuse fan. I'm a big Jim Boeheim fan. Jim Boeheim, Jim Larrañaga, the same exact way. You get them into the tournament, there's going to be a problem. But the problem is, are they actually going to get into the tournament? Because they'll probably be a bubble team every single season. And that's what it's looking like this year, unless they have a really strong recruiting class. And that's what they don't have this season. They're 3-4 on the year. After starting off this year 3-0, they had huge step-ups in class against Drake, Oklahoma State, VCU, and Charleston Southern. They lost all 4 of those games. The Drake, Oklahoma State, VCU, even going 0-3 in a neutral floor tournament is unacceptable. You can understand it. UConn just did it in the Maui Invitational. But losing to Charleston Southern, a team that is ranked 301 on KenPom at home, that's inexcusable. And now you got me saying that Arkansas is going to lose this game, or you're only giving me 3.5, 4 points with Arkansas. I'm not taking it. If Arkansas had just won, I could see the letdown spot. But the fact that they just lost to Illinois, it's like, hey, we have a chance to bounce back against a very vulnerable team in a spot like Miami. After this, they play UTSA, then they play Michigan, Central Arkansas. So they still have a month or so before they get into conference play. But this is still a very big win for this Arkansas team that can come. It's probably going to be a Q1 or a Q2 win for them. And I like them in this spot here. Miami, they're falling apart very fast. They have a strong offense, 25th in offensive efficiency, but they're 276 defensively. They can't stop a nosebleed. And we know that's what Calipari likes to do with the athletes that he has there in Arkansas. They're going to look to run the ball. Boogie, Adoree, Wagner, they're going to look to push the tempo. They're 55th of adjusted tempo. I like Arkansas to win this game. They're going to get it done against a very weak Miami team. I just don't see how Miami wins this game, losing 4 in a row, and that loss to Charleston Southern there. That's hard to come back from. And then Akron is taking on Northern Kentucky. Akron's ranked 133rd right now in KenPom. They're 4-2 on the year. Their only 2 losses were in the opening game against Arkansas State. That loss happened in overtime, and then a big step up in class to St. Mary's, where they lost that game by 21. After that, they strung together 3 straight wins against Lamar, Nebraska, Omaha, Alabama State. 3 teams that they were better on than, 3 teams that they got the win against. Now they face a Northern Kentucky team that is 2-5 on the year. Northern Kentucky is not very good, and they travel to Akron here, which is one of the better environments in the mid-major level there in the MAC conference. Akron, they're a team that's always expected to compete for the MAC. We saw that last year as well. They did have a lot of turnover on their team from last year to this year, but I do think that this is a team that can compete for a MAC championship. They can get hot at any time, and Northern Kentucky, they haven't showed me anything that's impressive. Now, they've had a tough schedule. Like, don't get me wrong, Florida State, Purdue, Nicholls, Cincinnati. But when they've also played, a team like Charleston, for an example, they necessarily didn't get the win there either. They lost that game on the road. Their only D1 win came in their last game at home against Bellarmine, but that Bellarmine's 320th on KenPom, so it's not really that impressive. So for me, I like Akron at home today. KenPom has this as a 74-68 win for Akron. The 2 A's, Arkansas, Akron, to get us done on this Tuesday slate and tuck us in. Well, that's it for me today, my friends. 4 best bets that I'm giving you guys on the college basketball slate here for this Tuesday card. We're going to take in a moneyline parlay Arkansas and Akron to get it done. That gets you to plus Chicky. We've got Notre Dame plus 9.5, and then we're also going to go over 140.5. We're going to take Wisconsin to defend the home floor against Michigan at minus 3.5. And our bonus bet of the day is our player prop of the day in the NBA. You probably know where I'm going to go. The guy who seems to always get it done, Mr. Franz Wagner, over 25.5 points against the New York Knicks. Right now is the NBA Cup. Both teams are 3-0 right now in the NBA Cup standings. So this game basically determines who's going to win the group, and then before they move on to the next knockout stage in Vegas or whatever the case may be. So right now, it's a game that the Magic need to win. I mean, I won't say they need to win, but they will drop down to the 2 seed. But they also have a very strong point differential, so they should probably get in as a wild card, but I don't think they want to leave it a chance. Obviously, we know what Franz has been doing. He's averaging 26 points a game ever since Paolo went down. I've been taking him multiple times here on the channel. I like him against a Knicks team that does not seem to be playing defense nowadays, only offense. So I'm expecting 130 plus points for the Knicks. Well, maybe not 130 because the Magic like to play defense. So maybe like 111, maybe 120 or so for the Knicks. But the Magic are going to be able to get their fair share of buckets. The Knicks are also top 5 in terms of most points allowed small forwards this year. Franz Wagner over 25.5 points will be able to get it done for our player prop of the day. That's 5 winners for you guys. Let's have a day. Get to that cheddar. And I'll see you on tomorrow's video. Later, guys.